So I've added in basically what I would call the shadow texture. And then I'm going to go back to my eyedropper tool and select one of the brighter colors, which is kind of this weird taupey brown color. And I'm going to go over the highlighted areas with texture, which is, if we were actually painting, that's how you would build it all up. But that step with the posterizing saves us time. And that's basically it.
And that looks amazing. It looks like you spent an hour just painting out this thing for this person.
I know.
They're just going to be so amazed.
Exactly. So then I think, well, I've got this great little flower here, but I actually need like 3 of them. So I'm going to copy this flower. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can go over to your layers and you can drag it to that new layer button and it will duplicate it. So now I have 2, right? So that's a benefit to drawing all on one layer. Command Z, undo. Or I can click on the layer that I want, hold down Option. Okay, I got to hold down Option first, then click, and that will, you know, make it repeat. And then, you know, it's obviously repeated right now, right? It just looks like a copy and paste. So what I want to do is press Command T to bring up our handy dandy transform tool. Go into the corner, press Shift to make it smaller. And then I'm going to hover over the corner until you see that little arrow turn to like a U shape. I'm going to rotate it. So it does not look the same, basically. So you basically have just, you know, doubled your efficiency, I guess. So I could go in and grab another one of these and basically repeat the process. Like, I think this one right here looks pretty cool. But for sake of time, I'm just going to move on. So the last thing that she wants is some cherry blossoms at the very top that it kind of fades up into. So I found this picture here. This is a desktop background, which is great to search for. So if you need a really nice picture of a rose, search for rose desktop background, and really high quality images will pop up. And that basically just means that you can zoom in quite a bit and it doesn't get blurry because it's made to have the resolution to fit your screen. So we're going to do the same thing with our magnetic tool here. Just trace around.
So, and while you're doing this, the templates that are the base of the cakes, they are something that would be really hard to actually make in Photoshop.
Yes,
or impossible, really.
They were actually made in Illustrator.
And that's a very different program. And Illustrator, from what I understand, is really super expensive.
Yeah, they're both expensive. I mean, if you subscribe to the monthly, I'm just copying and pasting these quickly and rotating, which is the same thing that we did before. Just to, and then I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing here. But if you do the subscription, it's all the same price. So you can use Illustrator and start messing around with that. But it's really, I mean, that's really asking for it.
Yeah, no, seriously, the idea of Illustrator just scares me.
It is very difficult. If you're going to use Illustrator, you really should take lessons because you will not it's not intuitive. You won't understand what the different tools do. I mean, when I was learning in school, you know what the tools are and it's still difficult to use. It's definitely one of those things that you have to practice and get muscle memory and understand what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So this template that you have to, you know, available for people is, this is awesome. I've actually been looking for something like this.
Oh, good.
And so it really is perfect for what I want and what I think that a lot of people will want. So
good.
I think it's a really great thing, and I think people are. I can see people are excited about it because people are already buying it.
Yay!
So that's really cool.
Okay, so I've copied and pasted a bunch of these flowers here. like probably 15 times. Now, if I wanted to edit each one of these flowers, it would take forever, you know? So basically what I want to do is this one that's highlighted right here is the last layer that I was working on. And you can turn it off and on to see which one that was. And everything above that is all other versions of that same layer. So I'm on this layer. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to go all the way to the top. And now I have all of my flowers selected, all of my layer flowers. Because each time you copy and paste a flower, it creates a new layer. It just does that automatically. And I want to put these all on the same layer so I can edit them all at once. So I'm going to go down. Sorry, there's a little drop-down menu right up here that is options for this particular window. And I want to not merge visible, because that would merge all of my layers. I don't want to flatten my image because that would get rid of all my layers. I want to merge the layers that I have selected. So it's this one right here. And that just basically put all of my flowers. Oops, I missed one. One more. There's layers. Put all my flowers on one layer. So now I can go back up to my filter, into my clean. Bring that up and do the same thing with the filter. Cartoon. Processing. I am amazed that my computer is allowing me to use Photoshop and like do Google Hangouts at the same time. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my brush and just do the same thing.
And it's amazing how these turn out. Yeah. Do you have any pictures of the cakes that you have done? I could pull some up if you...
I do. I'm not for sure where they are, though.
Here, I'll pull some up while you're doing that.
Okay. Just going to... You can see that I'm just basically making up where I think the petals would be. And that's really important. You really need to let yourself go and let it be a little bit messy, because you have this sort of underpainting, which basically is what we're doing, is we're creating an underpainting that we're adding details over. So you don't want to like over detail this stuff and mess up your underpainting.
All right. Pull up some of these that I think are just so super awesome. Okay, there's...
I'm putting in some leaf detail in here, even though that wasn't part of my underpainting. It's pretty easy to kind of add that in there.
This one's really cool. Okay. Okay, here are a couple so far that... Oh, look at how awesome that looks! You guys can see this just...
It's just fast.
Form right before your eyes.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. A lot of people would benefit. I mean, this right here, I can almost guarantee that if you come to someone with a sketch like this, it is going to improve your ability to sell a cake to somebody.
Most
and
definitely.
To be able to get the price that you need for the cake. That is the biggest issue that people have.
Most definitely.
Is that they're, someone doesn't want to pay, someone wants a cake for $200 and they want a 5-tier, sugar flowers everywhere.
Right.
And it's because they don't see it. They don't see the vision of what it can be.
Exactly.
So if you can prove to them that this is, amazing, and that you can do as this, this good of a job, I think that this right here.
And I guarantee every client that you give this sketch to that's like this, they will have never seen a cake sketch like this. So you automatically have just impressed them.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do sometimes with clients.
Yeah.
Another thing I was going to show you really quick is, you see how this flower right here is on top of this succulent? And I may or may not care about that. I do. So I'm going to click on my succulent so that I know what layer I'm working with here. And you can change the layer of the order of your layers. So I want this succulent to be on top of my flowers. So I'm going to drag it above my flower layer. So now it's on top of my flowers instead of underneath. So that's a great tool to remember just in case you're adding elements and then you accidentally overlap something. You can change where it is located underneath those layers. All right.
That's awesome. Okay, and so for those of you looking at this thinking, how do I do this during a consultation? This is going to take forever and they're going to, yeah. So you said at the beginning, and I want to just repeat it because it was kind of said before you guys knew what all of this was all about. So the way, explain how you do your consultations.
Okay, so when I sit down, I just have just this blank page, and I ask a couple of important questions, which are right here. How many guests are you having? 300. That's a huge amount. So I say, do you want your main cake to feed 300 people, or do you want it to be a smaller sort of like traditional stacked 3-tier cake, maybe 4 tiers with some sheet cakes in the background? Usually they choose the sheet cakes because a cake that feeds 300 people is going to be in the thousands of dollars, which sometimes people are okay with that. Most of the time they're not. So I try to give people realistic options and not just say, well, it's either 5 tiers or nothing. Most people don't understand that there are different ways of doing things. So you can say, I can do a 3-tier cake that feeds 100 for this much money plus sheet cakes, or I can do a 5-tier cake that feeds 300 and it's this much money. And then they can see the difference in what the price is. Because I don't know about you guys, but I charge less for sheet cakes because it's easy to do. And then I will ask them what kind of elements that they want in their cake. Is it a rustic wedding? Is it outside? Do they have orchids in their bouquet? What are their colors? And I will just make notes as they're speaking. Simple, rustic, succulents, white texture. And that usually starts me thinking. That usually start when I start sketching out rough ideas to myself. And then I will tell them, okay, I've got all, oh, sorry, my phone. I don't even know how to turn this off. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's right. Okay, so while you're fixing your phone, I want to show you guys some of the pictures that she has done with this same program. And if you look at this, I mean, this was one that we put up on CakeFu. So, I mean, this is kind of a, you know, the woodland cake that is really popular right now. And did you just take those same cake shapes and just turn one of them?
I did. The one thing I haven't really shown is how to change the color of all of the layers. So I can show you really quick just for your sake here. I've clicked my middle tier here, and let's say I want my middle tier to be green, okay? So I need to select that tier by pressing Command, and then I'm clicking the object within that layer. And you see it puts this little line around it that tells me that I have selected that shape. But I don't want to put color over my tier. Remember, we always want to be working on different layers. So I'm going to create it, while this is selected, I'm going to create a new layer, put it underneath, and then I'm going to choose a nice little, I need like a nice greeny color. And go up to edit, fill. Yes, I want to fill with a foreground color. And where is it? You can't see it. I'm going to press Command D to deselect because I'm just done with that. If you look down in here in your layers, you can see this little green blob. The color is behind this layer up here. So I'm going to click on this again. I'm going to go to this little drop-down menu right here, which basically tells me what kind of filter is on my object. You can mess around with all these. I don't use very many of these different ones. The only one I'm going to worry about is multiply. And what that means is your white basically becomes invisible, but your shadows are still there. So we have our grays in there, so you still have this definition that defines the edge of the cake and all of the shadows. But if you look at the back, it's just a flat green piece of color. So the combination of these two layers creates a colored layer, basically. And you could do that to every single one of them if you wanted to. And then what I usually go ahead and create another layer to draw on top of this. Actually, I'm going to go on the very, very, very top. And this is the last thing that I do for everything.